Well, it is so great to be back with you this week for Sports Spectrum's weekly slant. It's just been such a fun show to be a part of and to listen to. And I feel like we all get to grow throughout the course of the season together, which makes it just chock full of encouragement. I loved having the chance to talk to New England Patriot Devin McCourty a couple weeks ago. If you didn't listen, please check it out. It was a fun and fulfilling conversation about some of his own trials and his growth throughout the course of his life and his career as well. And of course, the conversations that Jason Romano and Brock Heward bring to you as well, they're all chock full of good stuff. I love how the three of us first intersected during time at ESPN, and we're all doing different things in different places. And God has brought us back together here at the Sports Spectrum Weekly Slant to share a love of faith and a love of football and to bring it to you week in and week out throughout the course of the football season. So just a blessing to be here and share this time and this space. I really enjoyed the conversation that we're going to share with you tonight. We're going to go down south to Louisiana. More on that just ahead. But first, of course, I want to encourage you to head to our website, sportspectrum.com. And if you go now and you put in the promo code, you will get 20% off a subscription to the magazine. So go ahead. I encourage you to do it. Sportspectrum.com. The code is SLANT20 for that 20% off our magazine, chock full of great stuff, devotionals, great stories about people following their faith, living their faith. And you'll hear in just a moment about how those devotionals are actually impacting one person. And he is our guest here this week, Coach Billy Napier. He is the head coach of the Louisiana Ragin Cajuns. And wow, I mean, how much success he has brought to that program. They've rattled off 5 straight wins after an early loss this season. The 2019 Sun Belt Conference Coach of the Year, back-to-back 10-win seasons. He is having an impact on his program, no doubt about it, as he continues to build it. And he's had an impact along the way, his stops before arriving at Louisiana. I really enjoy this conversation and how he starts his day. And not only that, but how he uses faith throughout the course of his program and his life. I found it to be really encouraging, and I'm excited to share it with you. Well, so fun to welcome Louisiana Ragin Cajun coach Billy Napier here with us on Sports Spectrum's Weekly Slant. Coach, great to have you here with us.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
So I always wonder when I talk to football coaches in season, how do you start your day every day? Like, what's your go-to first thing?
Well, I'm pretty routine oriented, right? So I get up early, certainly try to get to the office before the staff does. And, I've learned over time I'm a lot better at what I do if I take some time to really I do my devotion. It's where I start each day. And then I also do some other reading or research, relative to leadership or maybe something that applies to football. I've got some help there. I've got some people that help me with material and those types of things. But I actually recently printed out about 30 of your devotions offline, and I've been using those as kind of my daily deal.
So, that's awesome.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, we love hearing that. And I'm right there with you because I lean into those as well. And I find that just spending that time in the morning puts me in a much better frame of mind moving forward, because surely we're all going to find challenge somewhere along the course of the day.
Yeah. And, I think somebody's told me before that prayer changes you the most, right? So, and certainly when you get put in a leadership position, I think that's a big part of, what's required. There's no question. So, and then, go about planning the day certainly helps, because once we start, it can get a little bit chaotic. So, but, it's helped me. And I know I'm better when I follow through. Certainly, am not perfect by any means, but that's a big part of, really keeping perspective, I think, is important. So it's helped me I certainly give that advice to about anybody that I meet that asks me. So,
Where does your faith come from?
well, I grew up really in a family where my mom was kind of the faith, kind of the anchor to some degree. Her side of the family, certainly anyone that knows my family knows that we kind of evolved as a family. My dad didn't get saved until I was 16 years old. He was a little bit further down the road in terms of his faith journey, but certainly that changed a lot of things. But just local church. Grew up there. Probably a little bit inconsistent. As a family, truth be known, when I was young. But in general, had an opportunity to get involved with a local church, and certainly that's where it began. Got kind of came to my belief at a young age, 9 years old. And then I think as we all can agree, that journey's been a lot of ups and downs along the way since then. So
Yeah.
still figuring it out, and still learning and trying to get better and be a good example at the same time.
Yeah, aren't we all? I mean, aren't we all? It is the human element for all of us. What's interesting to me is that you talk about your mom as sort of being the consistent steward on the faith side of things, and then your dad was certainly that steward on the football side of things. So if you had to give me a lesson that you really value from each of them, what would those lessons be?
Well, that's there's a lot there. I really appreciated both my parents for their passion for people. I always felt like they had a special place in their heart for helping people. And there's no question, I think at one point or another, my dad talked about life in general. He talked about the game of football and the opportunity it creates for us, and the number of people that we can impact, right? I think so. One of the things that we've used here, a phrase that we use, is that life's about people. The game of football is about people. We say that football is people, strategy, and competition. But you've always got to keep people at the top of that list. If you ever think it's more about strategy or more about competition, then you're not going to have near the success that you would have relative to how you define success. So, and then just observing my mom throughout the years. Anytime you are a coach's wife and you're raising 4 kids and all the things that come with that, right? So, just in general, her selflessness, I think, is to this day very admirable, and I'm very thankful for her.
You've been underneath some big people in the college football world and really just the football world throughout the course of your career. You've coached under Dabo and you've coached under Nick Saban as well. I know there's got to be a story in there somewhere of lessons that you learned from them, experiences that you had with them. Can you shed some light on some of those for us?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think both obviously have had tremendous success and continue to have tremendous success. And I think partly because they've got conviction about who they are, what they believe in, what they want their life to be about, what they want their program to be about. Big picture wise, I think they have created organizations that really invest in people. They're passionate about helping the players. And certainly create atmospheres where, you can have a certain quality of life, and certainly the people that work there are well taken care of. And I think that carries over, to the success on the field. But both have created places where there's a specific plan year round for the players as people, as students, and then certainly as football players. And I think it starts with their conviction about who they are and what they believe in.
You talked a little bit at one point about sort of the roller coaster for you and then getting the rug pulled out. You were a very young offensive coordinator at Clemson and, then found yourself without a job. And that's the way the world can work sometimes, right? How did you rely on your faith through that experience? And how did it help pull you back and motivate you to get where you are now?
Well, I think there's no question that this profession can humble you in a hurry. And at that point in my life, I don't know that I was in a great place. I was probably a little bit arrogant, a little bit thought I knew a lot more than I actually knew to some degree, and needed it. It was probably one of the better things that's happened to me. I don't know. Sometimes when we go through difficult times, the Bible actually tells us that, but sometimes we don't want to recognize that. But
Sure.
In general, I think that, as many people have said, football is what you do, but it's not who you are. I think that in general, the difficult times in your life help you recognize that your faith is kind of the anchor, that keeps you from drifting. And certainly along the way, a number of events throughout your life really bring you back to that perspective that you need and the big picture that you need. And certainly that's kind of what faith has been for me, is it keeps me humble, and certainly keeps me focused on the right things relative to, the perspective I would hope that I have in my life, and certainly with our team, with our organization, and certainly with the people that we work with each day.
Tell me a little bit about the program that you have set out to build. And really, a few years in, you have had probably more success, I think, than even maybe the people who brought you in at Louisiana thought that you would have. Back-to-back 10-win seasons. And you've talked so much about how it really starts with people, right? Like football and life, the premise of all of it is people. So what are those values that you really strive to instill in your staff, in your players, and how do they carry you throughout the course of the season, Coach?
I think the first thing you mentioned there is extremely important, is that we have good leadership at our university. It's one of the reasons that we've had success. I had a great vision from our president relative to what he wanted to do with not only football, but the athletic department in general. T.J. Savoy has been outstanding to work for. And then Brian Maggard is our athletic director, and his vision for how he was going to execute that plan, right? And he's been kind of the guy, the nuts and bolts. He's worked extremely hard to provide resources for us. We start with the people that we hire. We've been very fortunate to hire exceptional people here. We have, I feel like after 4 seasons that they're spread out all over the country. We've had quite a bit of attrition, but we've hired well. We've found young, bright up-and-comers that kind of fit our mold. I think you got to start with the people that you hire, a certain level of character and integrity. They certainly have to be competent in whatever you're asking them to do. And then they have to have, it's kind of a mutual agreement about, how we're going to go about our business, right? Relative to how we're going to treat the players, how we're going to coach, the integrity in which we're going to operate. We've got a set of core values here, and the first one on the list is integrity. I think life in general these days, and certainly if you're in a competitive market, which certainly the college football dynamic is very competitive. I think for me, we want to have a place that is respected out there because we do it the right way, which can be a challenge, if we let that competitor come out in us, too much, we're compromising. So, then we get into together. That's kind of number 2. I think reality is in college football, you got almost 200 people when you look at your players and your staff who contribute to your success.
Sure.
and kind of building that team dynamic has been important. And then we get into the intangible things that we'd like to instill into our players: discipline, effort, toughness, a certain level of belief in themselves as people. And all these things that we try to teach are to some degree at the core faith-based. And I think that we're always looking for parallels, between life and football, and certainly how that can apply. And oftentimes we'll reference whether it's scripture or stories or whatever the case may be to emphasize that, right? And I think it's one thing to talk about it, but more importantly, the example that we set each day is what it's really about. So, it's a leadership challenge, and one that we wake up every day. I've never had more fun in my coaching career. So we've got great people and an unbelievable group of players. We would like to think that we're making an impact, and certainly, you just got to come see it. That's what I would tell you. You got to come observe it, because I think it continues to evolve each and every day.
I'm in. That sounds like fun. I'd love to. It strikes me that there's got to be a difference between coaching a player at Alabama, coaching a player at Clemson, and coaching a guy who's a Louisiana Ragin Cajun. Can you tell me a little bit what strikes you as the difference there? And I see you smiling as I ask the question. And I'm just curious if you can pull back that curtain for me.
Yeah, I think the first thing I would say is that there's pros and cons to every job, right? I think there's good and bad that come with every place that you work. I think there's also a set of problems that come with every job, right? And certainly when you're at Clemson and Alabama, there's lots of advantages to being there, but there are some issues that maybe you have to deal with that we don't have to deal with here.
Sure.
Now, the same thing could be said for we've got issues and things that we have to deal with here that they don't have to deal with there, right? So obviously, I like this job because I think it's a combination of the competition that we would get at those other places. We do have some really elite players. We've got players that are going to play in the National Football League. I would like to think we have more now than maybe we had when we first got here.
I think it's a fair assessment, Coach.
But I also think that we also have, probably half of our roster that'll never play. Maybe more than that, that'll never play in the National Football League. And they play the game because they love to play and they've got passion to play. So, my dad was a high school football coach.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I'm getting a combination of what I observed him doing for a long time growing up. But also I'm getting a taste of some of those things that maybe you get at, Clemson or Arizona State or Alabama at that level of football. So either way, wherever you coach, there's going to be good and bad. The most important thing is that you're getting a chance to work with the players. You're getting a chance to be a part of a team. And certainly what a platform, right? So look forward to it every day, and couldn't imagine doing much else.
It is true, right? I mean, you look at what you get to do and it feels like a privilege. And to me, it just strikes me, you said you're having so much fun. I also hear a lot of gratefulness in terms of how you view the position that you're in right now and what you're getting to do.
Yeah, it's been a heck of a journey, and I think my dad used to tell me sometimes, that along the way, the experiences that you have, the lessons that you learn, sometimes he would say that he felt like that oftentimes God intervened to some degree or created experiences for you to make you who you are, right? And I certainly feel that way. I probably felt like I was ready to do this a long time ago, but I wasn't quite as prepared as I needed to be. So I've been very fortunate. I've been blessed to work with exceptional people that were great examples, right? I mean, a lot of people like to talk about Dabo and Nick, but Tommy Bowden gave me my first opportunity. Buddy Pugh gave me my first job. I worked with some incredible assistants along the way. I had a year with Jim McElwain and a year with Todd Graham. I think you're always observing, and there's been some great examples and a lot of good people to learn from along the way, for sure.
Yeah. Well, like you said, you start every day with a devotional and something leadership or some way in which you can continue to grow yourself. So before I let you go, Coach, just one last question. What do you think that God's trying to teach you right now?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think I'm always looking for the right balance, if that makes sense. I'm always searching for, just the challenge of keeping perspective. I think that you can get consumed with competition, this dynamic that we live in. But, I've got a young family. My kids are 9, 7, getting ready to be 5. My wife and I have been married 13 years. We've lived all over the country. And I think that keeping balance, right, relative to time with the family, doing the best job I can do for the players, and at the same time, being the best example, as a person in my faith. So I think that's a challenge. And I think many people in this profession would agree with me in that it's critical that you keep perspective. And the anchor along the way has been my faith. So, I think that's what I'm trying to juggle as we speak. I think in the middle of the season, we played 6 regular season games, but, I think the biggest thing is just each and every day being a great example. I think it's one thing to talk about what you believe in or who you are, what you're programmed to be about, but it's another thing to live that out each day. So yeah. With the words that you speak, but also with the actions that you take. So we've got exceptional people here that take tremendous pride in their role and how they contribute to the team and how they impact the people that we work with. So that's all you can ask for. One of the greatest gifts that we have is opportunity, right? And I'm fortunate that I've got a great opportunity in front of me and one that I am thankful for sure.
And so important to recognize that, right? Like not just to say, oh yeah, okay, opportunity, but to actually pause, like you said, and to be grateful for it and to be thankful for it, because until you do, then you're not always going to strive to make the most of it. And that's such a significant difference.
Right. Well, a lot of people wake up and think about they've got to do something. I think I'd like to think that we get to do this, right?
Sure.
It's a privilege to be a coach. I'm certainly living my dream, if that makes sense, and I'm very thankful for that opportunity and trying to make the best of it.
Well, we certainly appreciate the time here, and once off to a strong start again this season. I know you have high aspirations for your Ragin' Cajuns as you continue moving on throughout the course of the season, and we wish you the very best.
Thank you guys so much. I appreciate what you guys do, and certainly anything I can do for you in the future, let me know.
I really enjoyed that conversation with Billy Napier, and we're certainly appreciative that he took the time to join us here on the weekly slant. I had to laugh that he loves our devotionals, and I have to agree with him. There's some great stuff in there. So if you're not checking them out, please do. Sportspectrum.com. You can subscribe for those daily devotionals. And I love that he was really just forthright about the fact that the tenets that he uses to build his organization and leadership within it are faith-based. I mean, so much of what we all do comes from the Bible, and sometimes it's just not that apparent, and we just aren't that open about saying that. And I love that he was forthright about that. Certainly will be fun to watch what Coach Napier and the Louisiana Ragin Cajuns do throughout the course of the season here, and as they continue to look to rattle off some wins and keep that win streak alive, and just to watch him as well as he continues to grow along his faith journey and his coaching career. So we're really appreciative of the time that you spend with us every week. And we do want to encourage you, of course, sportspectrum.com. If you go in and you want to subscribe to the magazine, you can still do it now, and you can still get that 20% off. Just head to the website, sportspectrum.com, and the code is SLANT20. It's running right across the bottom of your screen for that 20% off. So you got a few more seconds. Go ahead, do it now. And just always great to be here. And we hope that you enjoy it as much as we enjoy bringing it to you, as we bring faith and football together every week here on Sports Spectrum's Weekly Slant. We'll see you soon.